So I have played about 35 hours of Moonlighters 2. Put a ridiculous amount of time into this game. Shout out to them sending me the review code. And I'm here to give you my overall thoughts and impressions on the game. Keep in mind, this is early access. This isn't the full game. But man, I still put a bunch of hours into this. And let's get into it. This is my review of Moonlighters 2. What's going on, you guys? Gaming Addict here. Coming at you with another video. Today we're going to be talking about Moonlighters 2. I have played this game. This is my impressions. This is what my thought process is when I was playing my 35 hours of Moonlighters 2. I am playing it on Steam, so keep that in mind. It is my PC. I will put my entire specs in the comment section below. So let's first get into this with the combat and gameplay, because oh boy, the combat has been greatly improved compared to the first one, because I did review the first one 7 years ago. I actually went back and watched it back then. It's got unique weapon system, multiple melee and ranged options with upgrade paths. So you got like a spear, you got, pretty much gauntlets, you have a long sword, there's a lot of options how you guys want to play it. You can upgrade every single one of them to a different rarity, from common to uncommon to, rare to legendary. I don't know if that's the exact names of the rarities, but you guys get the picture. And what I enjoy about this is, like, they allow you to play this game however you want to play it. I only really use the initial gun that's in it, the long range weapon, but there are multiple more long range weapons that you can unlock in the game. I didn't really use it a whole lot. Mainly the long range weapons is used to just like pull people off the map if they are going up, but it is a really good weapon if you use the right perks with it. Strong upgrade design that feels intentional and rewarding. It's like I said, there is a lot of things that goes into this when it comes to progression. We'll get into progression a little bit more. It's a clear roguelike, unlike the first game, which hides it more subtle. Look, in the very first one, I personally felt like it was clearly a roguelike game, but they did a really good job hiding it. In the first one, you had like these dungeons, and they would just randomly generate these dungeons, but they explained it pretty vividly in the story. This one it couldn't be more like Hades. Hades is one of those games where you clear a region, you get a new upgrade, you read through the ones, find out what's going to be best for how you're playing the game, that playthrough, that run, and you keep moving. The good thing is when you do look at the progression system that pulls back, you could see exactly, you can zoom left and right. You're able to actually upgrade what's on that with more stuff that's in the hub world, which we'll get into in a minute. There's a lot of aspects to this game. For instance, there's like a foamed skill that you can upgrade with that. There's a lightning one, and there's a lot more things that you can go. And when you're playing these games, it's like, because this is essentially a merchant game. You go into these dimensions, these dungeons, and you kill the creatures there, and you bring back their actual, you bring back the items they had, and you sell it in your shop. This is essentially the entire gameplay loop. So it's like you're looking at the runs, because on here it's clearly runs. On the other one, it's like doors would open, you would go through those doors. They really mainstream more, and they definitely don't mind just making the roguelike very clear this time. And I don't mind that. I don't like that design, but I know games like Hades, they've made this very popular, and I can understand when it comes to stuff like that. Now, it's like I said, you can upgrade the lightning ability multiple times. There's actual NPCs that allow you to get better relics, which is the items you sell, have better relics show up more, have perks that you would need show up more. They give you a lot of options when it comes to how you want to, proceed and what you want to show up in the actual runs that you do. So the way this game is you have a hub world between runs, and essentially just like Hades, and you go around, there's multiple NPCs that do multiple things. It's a new central hub with multiple NPCs offering upgrades for weapons, potions, and other progression systems. NPCs services, they unlock over time, creating a natural progression pace. So for instance, you'll like complete the initial, dungeon or dimension or whatever you guys want to pronounce these, and you unlock a new PC, a new store, and they give you a lot more different options where, I was initially with the first one really struggling, and then I unlock a new NPC that allowed me to buy perks that would make it to essentially I take like 10-15% less damage. and that helped me, pushed me over the edge. There's this one where, you know, with the alchemy check that you can buy, and you can have more potions show up on the map. You can literally have a potion room that shows up on the map, and essentially that's like a free go-to. So, you know, if you're sitting here and you're playing it, and you have this long path that you have to take, and you have to like really evaluate in your head, should I run back to the hub world or should I keep going? When you see like these potion things, it gives you a free potion, and I'm with that. It's very strong as inspiration from Hades. I believe that this was definitely a good move in the long run. Maybe I particularly wouldn't have wanted a little bit more. I feel like the story in this game kind of like progressed and regressed at the same time. It's engaging. It's a mystery story that pulls you in early. Captivating the first game, pretty much you leave your village. It was destroyed, and there's things that go on through the story that like slowly explain why you left that location from the first one. One thing I will bring up is like in terms of, you know, you are a merchant. That's key. That's the story of Moonlighters, and you know, you got to upgrade your store. You got to put more things that make stuff sell better. You got to put different kind of shelvings in there, and you know, got to play around with what is selling well, what is not selling well. Sometimes you know, customers will come in and they'll look at the actual things that's on the map, and you'll see like a little bubble pop up above their head, and you know, if it has a frowny face and they don't buy it, that means they're not going to buy it and it's too overpriced and you have to lower it. If it's got like just a frown face, that means, okay, this is too overpriced, but they're going to buy it anyway. And then you got just the regular smile, which is pretty much the sweet spot. It's a perfect price. And then you got the, you know, the golden eye one, which is pretty much like you gave them such a good deal. They're being extremely happy about that. What I like about this is they actually evolved this system. In the original one, you didn't really have perks during, if I don't remember, but it's been like 7 years, so it could have changed by now. And what will happen is you'll get these perks throughout your runs. You'll unlock these perks, and when you do have good sales and you don't overprice things, they let you like get 10% more on certain relics, or get 10% more on all relics, get 40% more on legendary relics. And you take that money and you upgrade your weapons, you get more potions, you upgrade how much your potions heal, you get more space in your backpack to bring more stuff, to do stuff like that. And I really appreciate that. Like, they took the key aspects that worked well for them in the original Moonlighters, and they expanded on everything in the game. Probably when it comes to the story, this is called like Moonlighters 2, and essentially the story is like you have to feed this mystery item money, and it gives you things, and a lot of that is like more progression towards how you want to handle things. Now, I don't know, because this is an early access, if they're going to change that in the long run. I personally would, because I feel like, you know, we need to kind of tie that to something else. I feel like, because there is a system in here when you have like a calendar, and essentially what a calendar does is you're able to look exactly, certain relics will sell better on certain days. I think would have been cool is if they kind of do like a persona type of thing where, you know, you got to get to this point of the story by this day, get to this point of the story by this day. And I feel like, you know, it's time sensitive. It really captivates that calendar where they do more on it, because you only could like see a week at a time, even if they don't do that, because that's just something that was like a perception that I would like to have seen. You know, let me see the whole month, let me plan the entire month out my way. Now, you know, the items clearly they're in these dungeons and you have to bring them back and sell them. What I really enjoyed what they did is cursed items are returning, and cursed items essentially from the first one is items that you find that have some form of curse on them. It could be burning the item to the left of it, or duplicating the item if it burns to the left of it, or making the quality system higher to the left of it. I really enjoyed that they brought back cursed items, but it's more of a risk and reward. They really based the entire item section, because it was like that in the first one, but I felt like in this one they really pushing that we want to make sure that this is something unique. Every run's going to be something different. Probably the biggest thing I would say about like the runs in general with the relics, you know, the things that you sell at the shop, is now they've kind of went with this quality thing. In the original one, you had a certain part in your book bag where if you died, you would lose everything from that point on. So it was like the top line was safe, anything below that was lost. Now they have this quality system, which is nice, but you don't lose anything. You just lose majority of the quality that's in your book bag. And to me, that kind of takes away the risk and reward that Moonlighters had. So I would really appreciate now, since this is an early access thing, if they like, you know, if there's enough feedback, maybe take that out. because I do feel like you could have rapidly improve that system and not necessarily just put a quality system in there. Like, to me, one of the biggest things in the original Moonlighters that really captivated me was there was a risk and a reward. I can literally fight something, and even though I won't get more money because the quality's way less than it was, I know I'm still going to get some money, and I think that needs to be changed. So you got your levels. Like I said, most of the time you got night and day. Now in here they changed it a little bit. In the original game, if you fought during the night, if you went into the dungeons at night, they were stronger. The relics was more more potent, or just better relics. I can't remember. On here they kind of changed that. Like, you can't go into them to like the night one during the day. Like, literally they have two different options. You have a dungeon in the daytime, dungeon in the night, but you can't go into the dungeons. For like, one would think if you go into the dungeon at night, you're on the dungeon part of the night part of the dungeon, but that's not the case. You have to unlock the night versions of the dungeon, and I don't particularly like that. I'm indifferent. I don't really care in the long grand scheme of things, but I really enjoy the fact that, like, once again, risk reward system. You go in at night, you're able to captivate, get better stuff, fight stronger stuff, but you get better stuff, and I felt like that was an improvement. So I fought a bunch of bosses in here. There's a boss at the end of every, dungeon run, or however you guys want to call it, dimension portal run. I will say right now that the bosses in Moonlighters 2 are a lot better than the bosses in Moonlighters 1. I personally felt like in the base game, the 1.0, expand on these bosses. Maybe sometimes they pop up throughout the entire run. Maybe just the first time, like, get halfway through the run, fight a mini boss. Like, think about that Glover section in Glover, where the bad hand would show up and just make something stronger. To me, that would be cool if, like, they're building up these villains, they're building up these bosses. I think that's something they really should captivate on. But besides that, it's not really a big deal. I just feel like the bosses would mean more if they were actually part of the story itself. Smart economy mechanics that obviously you got to participate in that. You got to make sure you know exactly what you're selling stuff for. They do have a book when you're actually selling stuff in your shop that, like, lets you pick what's the last thing you sold it for, what was the middle that you sold it for, the sweet spot, what was the highest that you sold it for. So I think that is obviously returning. Did a really good job with that. As far as, like, the technical aspect, the game ran pretty good. Now keep in mind, I'm not like the kind of person that is going to really go in on stuff, but I do feel like the game had some issues performance-wise, including a boss fight bug that up until now I still have not been able to beat because it just glitches and it won't let me damage it anymore. So keep in mind, might be my build. It is early access, so you kind of have to, like, give a little bit more leeway with stuff like this. But as far as besides that, I didn't really have too many issues in terms of performance. There was a lot of, like, screen tearing, stuff like that, but kind of stuff like that doesn't really bother me a whole lot, as long as the game functions like frame rate wise decently. And I would say, there's definitely way better games that run good, but it's an early access, so it is what it is. But even with all those issues, I played this game for 30, 35, hell, by the time this review comes out, it's probably going to be 40, and every second of it was satisfaction, man. Some roguelike games launch well unfinished, like Hades, Baldur's Gate 3. I hope this one has the success too, because not every game is going to be like a Baldur's Gate 3 where they build the game with their community. Hades does it every game. I hope they do it. Moonlighters, in my opinion, could be up there with the Hades, because I feel like in a lot of ways they actually have a better system than Hades. But Hades has that, like, Greek mythology, stuff like that, and that's really hard to beat, because a lot of gamers, because of games like God of War, have, like, physically attached to themselves, emotionally attached to themselves to some of these characters. And it could be a good thing getting early access. They build the game with the community, get feedback, and release it. It's just, I hope it's like one of those things where you can only get that real hypeness for a game once. And I do feel that for the most part, there are exceptions to the rule, like the Baldur's Gates and the Hades. It's hard to get that twice. Now, if they do a really good job in the planning phase and the early access phase, and really build this game with their community, they could get that. And I'm completely convinced they could get that. Even with the bugs I had, which there was Game didn't run like horrible, but it didn't run great either. And keep in mind, I didn't try to run this on like a ROG Ally or a Steam Deck, which I don't have a ROG Ally, but it's got issues, and they need to look at that, man. But anyway, put in the comment section below what you guys feel about this. Very curious you guys' opinion about this. Like I said, I put about 35 hours into it. I beat the early access portion of the game, and I even put that much hours into it. Very curious you guys' opinion on this game in general with like Moonlighters. Like I said, it's like an old Zelda merchant simulator. Very weird analogy, but it works. And it worked in the first one, and they really built on the majority of what I would have envisioned a sequel to look like. And I'm very curious to see how they handle the feedback going forward with this game. So put in the comment section below what you guys feel about that. I'm very curious you guys' opinion. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button. As always, appreciate it. You could always sub to the channel. We do news stuff. We talk about the current stuff that's going on in the industry. We do reviews. There is some more, type of videos I'm going to be adding to the channel. Kind of experimenting, see what you guys like. But I appreciate it. And until next time, this is Gaming Addict. I'm out of here. Peace. That was my review on Moonlighters 2 for Steam.